Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Milk and Screams, episode 2.
Episode 2.
It feels very quick only because we're recording these episodes back to back. So this feels like a lot in a short amount of time, but these are coming out a week apart from each other. So today, which I assume is going to be in the title, we're going to be talking about some ethical dilemmas.
Yeah.
Some either popular ones or ones less popular that Jacob has found.
That's right. This is my episode. We like talking about ethical dilemmas. They're among pop culture. You know, we're gonna be talking about some ones that you know, possibly some ones that you don't know. And hopefully the conversation's interesting. Hope we don't all agree on either one. I'm sure we won't, but I mean, I hope that we don't just completely agree and just kind of like just talk about our same opinion. I hope it's interesting.
I sort of doubt that's how it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Again, if you're new, I'm Kyle.
And this is Jacob.
And there you go. That's the two of us that are always going to be here every single time.
Yeah. It'd be weird if one of us was just not here and just went talking alone. Like, that'd be funny.
With no guests. We were just having a conversation with ourselves.
People do it. I mean, people have lone podcasts where they just do it themselves.
I could never have a lone podcast, I don't think.
The only people I can think of that do it are stand-up comedians. And they just kind of like do stand-up with no one laughing behind it. So
yeah, see, I don't really like those that much. Like those comedy albums that
I do. People
come out with. I'm not the biggest fan.
Yeah, they're all right. They're cool.
I don't. Well, who has a good comedy album? That's not just a clip from their stand-up.
Oh, I see what you mean. I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head. I know Chris D'Elia's podcast is funny, but he does.
Chris D'Elia is pretty funny on his podcast. Yeah,
he does like just straight up commentary, and like he does like basically long form commentary. He just kind of talks about random stuff, and he talks to the audience instead of talking to like another person. And you know, there's just bits from his show that are funny. But he also probably maybe is nasty. So
we don't have to touch on that.
We don't have to, no. But you know, that's a shame because he's good. He seems like a good guy. But if he's nasty, he's nasty. You gotta let him go.
I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah. On an unrelated note, we mentioned this in the last podcast, but Kyle just got a haircut.
What?
And it got me thinking about barbershops. Because you and I both have had plenty of unique experiences in barbershops. True. And I don't think that barbershops are talked about enough.
Enough? Like, you think they need more recognition than they're getting currently?
I feel like in a way, me and you are not unique, right? So like
that hurts.
People when it comes to barbershops, I feel like everybody hates them. I feel like everybody hates going to get their haircut. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like everybody hates it, and then they don't talk about it. Like, I've had so many horrific experiences, and maybe it's just because I'm a little ugly, but like I feel like every time I go to the barbershop, I'm like, man, that was not normal. This should be changed in some way.
Well, I think if you're going to a barbershop and getting your hair cut by somebody that hasn't been cutting your hair for a while, then I think it'd be safe to say that most people find that situation, maybe not that they hate it, but at least a little uncomfortable. Maybe. Because for someone like me, I don't really know what to tell them to do with my hair. Exactly. I know what I want it to look like, and I know like the sizes of guards and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know how to just say, make my hair stay the way that it is, but shorter. Because every time I do that, they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, that's an insane request.
Like, okay, I know there's hairstyle names for men.
Right.
Like the pompadour or like whatever. But like, you can't tell your barber that you want a pompadour. Like, I feel like you can. Maybe you can. But
that just makes you sound so pompous, doesn't it?
I feel like you have to show him pictures eventually, which it makes you feel a little childish.
It does, because the last time I did that was in 9th grade. I remember specifically the picture too, and I remember finding it on the airplane back from New Jersey. I was like, I want a haircut. And I found this because I had that long Bieber swoosh hair that I had for years. And I found this picture and I was like, this is what I will show to my hairdresser. Is that the person that cuts my hair?
Or your barber.
Well, the thing is that my barber sounds like a male term to me. And There's been a woman that cut my hair for years back
That's
home,
fair.
and I'm pretty sure her title is hairdresser.
I guess that makes sense.
But
yeah.
hairdresser also makes me feel like I'm putting myself in a feminine position when I'm not. So I don't really know what the correct.
Well, maybe don't worry about.
Well, no, but I mean,
Like-
you know what I'm saying, though.
I guess. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm sure she doesn't mind being called a barber, and I'm sure that I don't know why you mind being calling the person who cuts your hair hairdresser.
No, I don't. But I feel like if I were to say that just in general, and I said I went to my hairdresser, I think in general, like a person's initial reaction to that would be, that sounds like something that not a dude would say. You know? Does that
Okay.
make sense?
A little bit, maybe, but we'll move past it.
Point being, that was the last time I showed anyone that was cutting my hair a picture of what I wanted my hair to look like. So if I were to do that now, I think it would make me feel like a child.
I don't know, man. I normally show pictures of myself the day I got my haircut last. Like if I take a picture, if it was a good haircut, I take a picture and I'm like, hey, next time I'll show the barber this picture. Do I remember? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I had a really nice barber back home for a while, like for like a couple months. But obviously I moved down here. So, and I had to find a new one. And there's also this stigma that you can talk about anything in a barbershop. And in fact, I used to work at a barbershop.
Right.
And, you know, not as a barber, I used to just sweep the hair and like do errands for the barbers because I didn't realize this. They can't like leave their job and go get lunch. Like they just kind of stand there the entire day and cut hair, which is, it sounds like an awful existence. In my opinion, I just think your back would have must hurt and like, you know.
And to you, does the profession of cutting other people's hair seem boring? Because I've thought about it, and
think
that sounds boring to
the
me.
only reason that it isn't is because barbers insinuate having these insanely like thoughtful and thought-provoking conversations about sports, about religion, about anything. Like they just want to know you. I think the only thing that makes it fun is that you get to meet new people. But if you live in a small town, like you're gonna meet the same 5 people. You know, I mean, I don't know. There was some crazy stuff that went down when I was working at Bill's barbershop. Like people would walk in and be loud and crazy, and they talk about sports, and like, you know, that's the typical male barbershop thing. But women would come in and talk about other women. If the barber did something wrong, like if he like, you know, made the someone came in one time, they wanted one of my friends who was a barber to cut their eyebrows, like with the like you know, shave their eyebrows down with
like
the razor,
and, like trim them or like style their eyebrows with like a nice cut or two,
like style kind of like, but like they wanted them to do it, and I'm like, this is not the place where you go to do that, because this is typically a male. Typically, it's a black male barbershop. That's where I worked. This is where black men normally went to get their haircut. It's just where, you know, where it happened, and
right.
It was respected in our town. Like there, a lot of people went there. They were there. You know, I don't think there was ever a seat like really empty. Like there was always people in the barbershop. But you know, a hair salon, a place where you get eyebrow threads. Like I don't know. Like that seems like the place where you would get this stuff done, and they got royally jacked up. Like their eyebrows were like totally messed up, and this lady like started screaming at Bill. She was like, "How can you let him do this? Like, what the hell?" And like Bill was like, I don't know. Like you came to the wrong place for this. I don't even know how to charge you for what we did. Like I think he ended up just letting her walk out for free. I mean,
that's so weird.
Yeah, it is weird. But the guy I worked for, Bill, he used to cut my hair all the time.
Yeah.
And the way he used to cut it was like, you know, typical, I mean, I guess a street style, I don't know. But one time he was like, "Hey, I want to have my friend," because I've told you this story. You already know where I'm going. I want you to have my friend who is a new barber here. I want you to let him cut your hair. I said, okay. So I get in his chair. I've never met this guy before, and I've known Bill for such a long time now that I'm like, you know, I'm, you know, dumbfounded again. I'm like, what to tell him? Like, what do I want? So I'm like, okay, I like it short around the sides, and I like length on the top. It's pretty much, you know, stereotypical white boy haircut. And he was like,
we all had it at some point.
yeah, and he was like, dope, I'll do it. So he starts going at my hair, and eventually he starts getting to the top, and he's not using clippers. He's using the shaver. And like before I can tell him, like I'm like, dude, you're doing a lot of shaving up there. And he's like, well, that's what you wanted. You want one shave all the way around. I was like, no. And the thing is, like, my hair doesn't look like that long. Like it's not like overgrown. It's not like my shoulder length hair. It's like just it looks long on the top and short on the sides. I don't know why you can't just like shorten that. If anybody knows what to say to a barber, please tell us. And if you agree with us that this is the way that people go to the barber, like this is a common thing, please let us know, because we literally feel like idiots when we go to the barbershop.
Yeah, the last time, this haircut that I got yesterday is the first time in a very long time that I went to get my hair cut by somebody that wasn't the typical woman that I always went to back home. Mm-hmm. The last time I got my hair cut here in Gainesville, I haven't got my hair cut in the last 3 years that I've been here by somebody, a professional in Gainesville, until yesterday. The last time I actually got it cut in Gainesville was February of this past year, because excuse me, because I had a similar hairstyle for a long time to what Jacob has now. You kept it short on the sides and the top goes to one direction at whatever length that it's at. It goes to the side in some direction. And I was living in the dorms, and my buddy Alex would cut your hair if you gave him $5. And I desperately needed a haircut at some point, and I was like, screw it, just cut my hair. Who cares at this point? So he had a guard, just the same stuff, that just really simple stuff. And so he shaves down the side of my head like to a pretty fair length. And he hadn't touched the top at all, because I don't think he had clippers or anything. And I was like, can you take any off the top? And he goes, I don't really know how to do that. All I have are these guards. And I said, well, try anyway, I guess. I don't know. Go for it. So he just kind of grabbed my hair in one clump and just shaved some off.
Good God.
So it was literally just like shaving a bunch off all at the same time. And so when it was done, my hair didn't go to one side anymore because it was all the same length. And it started doing a middle part. And that's just what I've been rocking ever since, because that was the day my hairstyle changed, and I haven't changed it back because I don't want to. So that was the last time I got my hair cut here that wasn't a professional, or that wasn't the lady that always cut my hair back home. So, I mean, it worked out fine. He just kind of grabbed my hair and shaved it off.
Yeah. So I guess I didn't really finish my story. By the time I was able to tell him, like, hey, bud, like, you're doing something that doesn't feel right, he'd already shaved like half of the top of my head completely down to like a one guard. So Bill was like, there's no way we can fix this. And I was like, go ahead, just shave it all off. So I just had like a buzz. I think it was a buzz cut.
Yeah.
Just straight up buzz all the way around. And I was like, I felt like a complete idiot. Like I felt like it was my fault. Like I said, if you know what to say to barbers, please let us know, because we're
dumb.
And I feel like this is a sentiment. Like, people just need to create a language to speak to barbers, or like common terms, or like what to do. Maybe somebody already has, and we're just not.
We're just not in the know.
Maybe. And maybe that's it. Maybe we're just dumb. All right. Well, let's get into some ethical dilemmas.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. So,
hit me with it.
I thought we'd start with the classic, the good old-fashioned trolley problem.
Right.
So, if you don't know, the trolley problem is a really old ethical dilemma that's kind of like, led to the like modernization and population of like a bunch of different ones. A lot of modern day ethical dilemmas literally are the trolley problem, but like, put something else in place of it. So basically, let's say you're operating a trolley, right? And you have control of the lever that changes the lane that it goes to. The brakes are broken on the trolley. It can't stop. And on one path, there's one person And if you leave it on that one person, that person will die. But if you switch the track off that one person, there are 5 people in the other lane of the trolley. Or no. If you leave it on one path, 5 people get killed. And if you switch it, one person gets killed.
Yes.
That's what it is. I got mixed up. Sorry. So the question is, do you pull the lever and have it switch into one lane and have one person get killed? Or do you leave it and watch 5 people get killed?
And the reason I think it's set up that way is because you could just let it go. But in terms of just the amount of people that are dying, if you were to switch, obviously less people would die. But then does that also mean that you are responsible for killing this person?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you let it hit the 5, it's not your fault. You legitimately can't do anything about it. But once you pull, you actively chose to take out one person instead of 5.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's really the only reason why it's considered an ethical dilemma, because 1 life versus 5, most people would say, yeah, 1 life, I would switch it. But it's the act of switching that causes people to think again. And a lot of people still say, yeah, I would definitely switch it. But I love, there's a YouTube series, Vsauce, the guy who does, the videos about science and stuff like that. He performed an experiment that toyed with the trolley problem. He had like cameras set up, but they were just playing replay. It wasn't, and no one was actually doing anything. Like no one was killing anybody, but the people who were part of the experiment thought they were. They were doing like a promotion for like trains or whatever, and the conductor was showing them the cameras and like how they switched the lanes and stuff like that. And he basically conducted the experiment. Like, what is somebody going to do? And the reason why this hasn't been tested by scientists or psychologists is because of the moral ramifications of such a test.
Yeah, like ethical psychology is a very huge thing.
Yeah, so like people were like having mental episodes because they thought they killed somebody, or and it was just so crazy. Like the results of the test, a lot of people did end up switching, but some people would like run out of the booth and like just escape. That was their way of getting out of it. Like they couldn't bear with the the weight of doing it. And then there's other things like like seeing someone in trouble, like going to help them. Like, do you let them you're just a bystander, you can let them go or go and save them or whatever. Like that's the whole dual-sided dilemma that everybody knows about, really.
Yeah,
I feel like we could talk about it more, but honestly everyone's already talked about it. So it's not really much more to say about the trolley problem. Like, what do you think?
Well, I think I was going to ask, what would you do?
I would switch.
You would switch?
Easy.
See, it's difficult for me because I can't decide if switching would mean that I killed that person, or if it just means that I did what had to be done, but that still didn't make me the murderer of that person. Because that's just such a difficult thing to answer, because I definitely wouldn't want I killed this person to always be on my conscience versus I saw those 5 people die. So
I think the way I look at it is, okay, I am switching the lever because 1 life is virtually less than 5. Like that's just the way that numbers work. But also, it's not about who I'm killing, it's about who I'm saving.
Right.
So if I don't do anything, I'm not saving 5 people, I'm only saving 1 person. Both people are in peril. If I switch, I'm saving 5 people, and I'm only killing 1 person in the deed of saving. I think at the end of it all, I would probably switch. Yeah, because like people say if you switch, you're killing. You're actively doing something. Right. I understand that, but you're also actively saving people. Like you're actively doing that. So then let's throw a wrench in. Okay. Because the trolley problem is my favorite thing to throw wrenches in. Sure. Now,
Now let's say the 5 people are just random people and the one person is your mother. Now what do you do?
Kill mom.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be able to bring myself to pull the lever now that I know the person that's on the one. I don't think I'd be able to bring myself to do it.
Yeah, that's I mean it that doesn't bear any weight to me. Like if it was my mom, if it was you, if it was like anybody, it's still the same answer. It's 5 lives versus 1. Kill, if it was an even amount of lives, that's kind of an interesting question. Like if there's just 2 lives versus 2 lives, I think I would have to, just leave it to chance and just like not switch. I think if you do switch, then it's kind of like you're intently doing something. So, you know what I mean?
So like no matter who that person is, it doesn't matter at all to you. It's just let it go.
Well, that's just the way I think about ethics. It's just like it's not even that's why I don't like the trolley problem so much. It's just because
ethics from a 5,000 foot view, yes, that's 1 versus 5. But when you throw someone that you know in on the one, then you have ethics at a 2 foot view because you're right there in it and you have a relation to somebody on that track.
I think if I was actually there, yeah, of course, like it's different, but I would still in my mind, I think that's just the most logical thing to do.
It's the most logical, but I'm also talking about not whether I know it's right, but whether what I would end up doing. So if I'm seeing 5 random people and I know that my mom is the one that I'm switching to, I can basically guarantee that if I saw that, there is almost no way I'd be able to bring myself to pull that lever. Whether I thought that it was right because it's 1 versus 5, there's no way I'd be able to bring myself to pull that lever.
I guess you got a point, but I still feel like that's just the way to go.
So if you were there, you would be able to bring yourself to pull that lever.
I have to, yeah.
No, there's a difference between having to and being able to bring yourself to do it.
Yes, I would. I would pull the lever.
Dang.
What? Why are you saying dang? Like, what's the deal?
Because I think you are just in a minority. I would have to guess that if you posed to anybody the trolley problem, but with the one person being somebody that they deeply loved, that most people would say that they would not be able to bring themselves to pull the lever, to actively switch the train.
Yeah. It's tough. I'm not saying it's easy, but I don't know. That's just the way things are.
Wow, this got super depressing.
Let's go to the next one.
Go ahead.
Okay. Should you monitor kids on the internet?
Should you monitor kids on the internet?
I feel like this kind of is a touchy one for both of us because we both were kids that were monitored on the internet. So there are pros and cons to it, right? So obvious pros to monitoring kids on the internet is, I guess mostly kids is an obvious one. I think you kind of have to monitor kids and everything they do. Like you can't just let kids do whatever they want. But I'm thinking teens. So like our siblings, like let's just say Ariel's a little younger, like her teens, like 16, 15, and Emily. Okay. So should you monitor them? Not only, I think you should monitor them okay, let's go back. Pros and cons. Pros, right? Pros to monitoring kids is they're less likely to get into trouble. In trouble being like bad people on the internet who want to prey on them and stuff like that. There are places that they probably shouldn't be looking at children on the internet. Like they shouldn't, be going on websites and stuff like that are bad.
Right. Well said.
Yeah, that's good. That's as close as we're gonna get to that. But I do think that kids, as a con to this, require privacy, and require, just as any other human, like their own path to knowledge, to learning about these things, because eventually they will learn. Like if at 18 you're like, okay, no more monitoring, hooray, like they're gonna learn then. And is a year or a day or whatever really that much different? That's where I kind of stand on like that kind of thing.
I agree that they need some sort of privacy, but they don't need as much as they think they're entitled to,
Really?
in my opinion. Because 14, 15, 16-year-olds, they think, and we did too, they think that they know what life's about. They think they know what they're doing and that they know more than their parents. And 100% of the time, they do not.
I wouldn't say 100% of the time.
I would say 100% of the time, they do not know more than their parents, or what's best for them over what their parents believe is best for them. So I think boundaries should be set on the internet, as in like if you're home Wi-Fi or whatever, there are just certain things that you can't have access to, period. Anything you can have access to, I'm not going to watch you while you're on those things. But the things I don't think you should have access to, you're not going to have access to them. That's
fair. I don't know. I never really thought about how I would go about like monitoring my kids if my future kids. I don't have kids right now, obviously.
Yeah, me either.
I never really put much thought into it, but I saw this one on the internet and I thought it was kind of interesting because everyone's obvious answer is, well, my kids won't be doing that. My kid. I think if you end up trying your hardest to, guard and like have, blocks on your like web pages and stuff like that, or like don't give your kids the internet at all, they're going to find ways to like sneak around and go do what they want to do. Like, I don't think there's any way to fully block your kid from knowledge or not block your kid from whatever. I don't think there's any way to do it. And I think it comes back to, should I give my kid free range to the? I don't think so.
No, definitely
there has
not.
to be some kind of set boundary. But I do think that people who are given who are able to freely search the internet or freely do whatever they want on the internet are not horrible people either. So like, what's the deal? You know what I mean? But the only thing I think about is predators. You have to educate your kids as well, like on what to look for. Stay out of chat rooms, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and like if you set boundaries on what they can access on the internet, and also tell them, because you would very well know that they could have access to the internet in other places that aren't your home, where you can't enforce boundaries or guardian or those guardian settings on their phone or whatever they happen to have. And that's another thing. Young kids shouldn't have phones in the first place, in my opinion.
Wow.
They should have phones that can be able to call their parents, one of those that's their only capability. Like 11, 12, 13-year-olds, they don't need to have the ability to text or to surf the internet on their phone at all times, all the time, anywhere. I don't think they don't need that.
Well, here's my rebuttal. Why can't they have it?
Because of everything that we've been talking about. If you want to have certain standards and boundaries for your kids on the internet, but also knowing that they can just see whatever they want on the internet anywhere else in the world, then just don't give them that ability until you think that they are ready.
Yeah, I think that when we were growing up, the internet was still kind of new, and I don't think either of us really had full range access to whatever we wanted on the internet.
No, I didn't have a phone period till I was 15, 16.
So my point being, like, there had to be a time where somebody came to us and be like, hey, listen, don't talk to people on chat rooms. Don't go here. Don't do this because people are on here looking to find you. And, those things are true. I do think those things are true. But I also think about, like, being younger and, like, watching, funny videos on YouTube and, like, how that kind of, like, changed my childhood in ways that are different than other people's childhoods. I think that if you take that away from your kid, you're kind of taking away what could be a big piece of their personality and what can make them good people. You can find good things on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. If you let them find good things on the internet and only give them capabilities of finding things on the internet at the home where you can set boundaries, then you're good to go. Like, if for my kids at home, I would not be putting YouTube as something that I'm taking off the internet.
Mm-hmm. I guess we're both kind of on the same page. I guess.
So, no, I don't think kids should be monitored on the internet. Yes, I think boundaries should be set.
Boom. Meet in the middle.
There you go.
Easy peasy. Here's a fun one.
Okay, good. Let's get something upbeat.
This one comes from Reddit. You are Superman. No one has kryptonite. You are basically a god, which is basically already what Kyle is.
Okay, this is getting off track.
Do you use your powers to force governments to do what you think they should do? Examples: dismantle the insane NSA spying programs, legalize drugs, whatever you want, right? Force Russia to appeal its anti-gay legislation, whatever. This is from Reddit, so that's where you see all this shit. Use your imagination. Or do you let the mere mortals rule themselves? In other words, is it right to turn yourself into an invincible dictator if you can?
No. Next question.
Okay, great. No, we're going to talk about this because I think this is a perfect question for you because you are smart. Now, I think if I did this, if I had Superman's powers, I would totally screw up the world.
I would too.
Well, let me finish.
Okay, go. Okay?
We've often talked about when we run for president.
Of course.
Like what we're going to do. And I think if you had Superman's powers, you can get rid of South Carolina. Or is that which one?
South Carolina. Terrible state. Sorry if you're from there.
Kyle wants to get rid of South Carolina, but not just like redraw state lines.
No, I want to take Chile from South America and then move it around like under and come up and then use it as a crowbar and just wedge it in between North and South Carolina and just pop it off.
If you were Superman, you wouldn't have to do that. You can just use like your laser beams. And also, that's not how tectonic plates work. But regardless.
I don't care about tectonic plates.
Well,
I care about what I want.
Oh my God. Anyways, so I think if you're not me, I think you could be a Superman dictator and just rule the world. And I think if you're smart enough, you can make the world a better place if you do it that way.
Okay. Personally, I wouldn't want that at all. I would not want the power to tell governments to do what I think they should do. We both have a certain amount of intelligence on plenty of topics, but I do not fancy myself intelligent enough, especially when it comes to government, to tell a government what I think it should do and have it immediately obey and think that I know exactly what all the ramifications will be and know that I tell government to do this will happen, these will be the effects, everything will be okay. I would have no idea. I would never want that. I would not do that at all. I would let them go about their days, because then you're talking about free will. And then if I do that, then nobody has free will because I'm just conquering and controlling everybody.
Well, right, but like doing the right thing though, like governments do the wrong thing all the time. Like they do shady things. They do things that aren't for the benefit of the people. So if you're Superman and you're like on the side of the people and like you're like, hey government, better do what's right, I'm gonna punch you. Like that makes sense to me. Now I can't do that because I don't know what's right necessarily.
And that's what I'm saying. Most of what especially in American government, a lot of what happens about what somebody decides to do in government, whether they say this is the policy we're enacting because this is right, is always subjective. It's never objective. If it were, there wouldn't be so many differing opinions about what's right and what's wrong with policies, and it wouldn't be such a 50-50 split based on where you live. But it is, because it's subjective to what's right and what's wrong. So I wouldn't just go up there as Superman and say, I'm here now and I held this opinion before, so I have to know that that is right, and all of you 50%ers who thought that this was wrong now have to obey because it is right. So haha.
Well, I think that's what's funny about this question is obviously this has never happened before.
No.
Every dictator who has existed has been taken down. Superman can't be taken down in this situation because there's no kryptonite. So we don't know if Superman can create a perfect utopia. Like, we don't know if this is if a perfect utopia on Earth is possible. You know what I mean? So I think with the right person, with the right ideas, and who is genuinely for the benefit of the people, he can easily accomplish this, can easily make it work. I don't think we are those people.
I don't think anybody exists that could be that person, or ever will exist, or ever has existed, besides Jesus.
Well, I gotta say, I think I disagree with you on this one. I think there's a person out there who is smart enough, who knows enough about stuff, that if they were just given a potion that was like Superman potion, they were like, government, cracks knuckles, stop. Let me handle this. And they just said, because there's so many different things that block the government from doing its job, like the checks and balances, and that's those stuff are there so that we don't have like I think like you don't have like a utilitarian government. I think the reason why we don't have that is because people would use it for the wrong reasons. But if we had somebody like Superman who has good morals, who's in some sense perfect,
everybody thinks they have all the correct morals, and so now it's again subjective about who you're choosing as having all the perfect morals, because everybody has different morals and everybody thinks they have the right morals. There's no one with perfect morals. There's no one with all 100% the right morals, and there's no human that could do any of that without some flaw in them, or some flaw in what they think, or some flaw in what they think versus how the people would react to it. It's not possible. And if you try to just dictate everything, I think everything would fall apart.
So the only other, alternative is to let people run it like they're running it now, and they're not really doing that great of a job.
One person is not going to make it better, because this one person isn't suddenly given heightened abilities and a heightened sense of morality. They're just given immortality. This person is not given a perfect sense of being and a perfect sense of will and morals. They're literally just given the ability to dictate without being opposed.
Yeah.
And that is with no person in the history of ever. That would never work. Giving somebody that ability, I think everything would fall apart way more than what is happening anywhere in the world right now.
Really? I gotta disagree, man. This is like, it seems like a no-brainer for me.
And it seems like a no-brainer for me too.
Jeez. All right. Let's go on to another one.
Go ahead.
Let's get out of this one, because this one's good. This one got a little heated. I'm not gonna lie. All right. It is 1933. You are in Berlin, Germany. Somehow you find yourself in a position to steal Hitler's wallet. This theft doesn't affect Hitler's rise to power or any other events in history surrounding Hitler. Okay. No IDs in his wallet, so you're not like gonna get caught or anything like that,
right,
with identity theft. And there's only some money in it, and you really don't need the money, but it's gonna ruin his night. Do you steal Hitler's wallet?
So didn't you just say that stealing the wallet has no effect on what?
So it doesn't have
happened?
Effect to Hitler's rise to power. It doesn't make him like vindictive and want to rise to power. It doesn't change like any events in history, like the Holocaust or anything like that.
Those all still happen whether or not you steal the wallet.
Right. And he has a bad night because you stole his wallet. There's like, let's say like $100 in American dollars in his wallet.
So we're talking about just, would you want to make Hitler feel sad?
Pretty much. So it's like, would you commit a crime that no one will ever commit you for? Like, no one, you will never get in trouble, and only you will know that you did it. It'll make somebody very upset who just so happens to be Hitler, and it's a victimless crime essentially, because you're just stealing $100 from somebody who's gonna be very powerful very soon.
No. I don't steal his wallet.
Dude, come on.
And I assume you're going to say yes.
Yes, I would definitely do it. There's no consequences. It just makes someone very sad.
And here's the thing. Again, I mentioned it last episode, is that I am 100% fully Christian. So any decision that I have in ethical dilemmas boils down to that. So I'm not going to steal. And that's just how it is. Whenever I do have these conversations with people, it is often wanted to try your best to take just religion out of your mind for the sake of the ethical argument, which I understand the want for that juxtaposition, I guess, but I don't do that. So for me, it's just, I'm stealing. Nah, there's no point. All you're doing is getting $100 and Hitler feels sad. Like, even if I wasn't a Christian and that was just posed to me, it would almost feel like a useless question, because you either got $100 and Hitler felt sad, or you got no money and Hitler was neutral. So,
well, this is my thing about this. If there's anything that has to do with Hitler, I most likely am going to end up on the side that hurts Hitler in some way, shape, or form. Guy was a jerk, man.
He was.
He was an awful person. So I don't think that crime or that whatever equates to the atrocities that he felt. So in my mind, you play two pros, right? So pro one, you take his money, he feels sad. The rest of the events go on in history. Event two, you don't take his money, and events go on in history. So you have a chance to take a dig at Hitler and take his money and make him sad. That, to me, weighs a little bit more than just leaving him alone and letting him do whatever he wants and having a good night or whatever. So in my mind, it doesn't do any wrong. Like it is doing wrong. I'm not going to say it's not doing wrong, but it's not hurting anybody. It's not
hurting anybody. And for, like what you said, for the way you look at it, Hitler is bad. So if I can hurt Hitler, I will. For me, and the life that I have, the views that I hold, is sin is sin is sin. If I cannot sin, I won't.
Well, yeah.
So, and that's why I wouldn't steal $100. That's why I wouldn't steal the wallet.
Well, I would, because you're still not viewing. It's hard to explain in words. Like, you are still not hurt. You're not. First of all, you're not hurting anybody by doing it. You're not, affecting history, and you don't need the money. It doesn't matter. The whole thing is like, you're just going to ruin the worst person in history's life for a night. Think about it like this. What if it was Satan? What if it was somebody who was like objectively horrible? Worse than Hitler, let's say. Would you take Satan's wallet?
That's a whole different question. Only because Satan isn't human, and so the war between heaven and hell, let's say,
okay,
is hard to make that a tangible thing and then add ethics to it. Like if it's Satan, sure, I would steal his wallet. But that's a completely separate scenario, because it's different. I can't explain why that's different, but it simply is, only because Satan isn't human, and so
I think
it almost doesn't apply.
I think equally, it doesn't matter that much when it occurs to Hitler, because Hitler did I think if Satan was put into a human body, that's what Satan would do. He would capture all of God's children and put them in concentration camps, and that's what God would do. I mean, that's what Satan would do. God dang. That's what Satan would do with Jesus. Regardless, let's skip over that. And it doesn't matter so much that, yeah, I'm giving myself $100 richer and make Hitler sad. It's easy. Like that's like because it doesn't matter that much. That's my answer.
And I think we're at the easy answers again. And for me, because it is a sin to steal, I wouldn't do it. So that's my answer.
Well, these are not as thought-provoking for you as I thought they were going to be, but I guess we're going to move on.
No, go for it.
All right. Let's go for you. Let's just make this a little bit personal. Okay. So you are like the owner of like an engineering firm. Okay.
Sick.
Yeah, sick. And you're kind of in a small town area, you know, akin to where we're from.
Cool.
And you're looking for like promotion, right, for your business. I don't know. I guess that this is weird if it's an engineering firm. So let's just say you own a business or you need promotion, right? And let's just say a gentleman's club offers to do a promotion for you, for your company, in exchange that you'll promote their company, right? So they offer to give you the same amount of money that, you know, another company would give you, just that you would, you know, shout them out and they would shout you out and they would help you and scratch your back. Like, what do you think? Would you accept the offer that they gave you?
So is this more to the point that it's a gentleman's club trying to give me money in hopes that I'll get a promotion, or is it just the fact that an outside source is handing me money to help me get a promotion? Does it matter what the outside source is?
Not you promoting, like you're not promotion. It's just like promo, like, you know.
Okay, promo for the company itself.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
And it's specifically a gentleman's club or like a strip club, or, you know, they want to help your company and they're only asking that you give them a shout out and they'll give you money to help, you know, start your company or, you know, boost your sales or whatever.
Again, a pretty easy answer.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't do that.
This is so boring. I don't know. This one was kind of tough for me. And I think the reason why is because I think that a strip club is not something that needs promotion in my eyes. I think if you're looking for a strip club, you'll find one. Like, and I think that I think, okay, let me put it this way. It needs promotion. Like, people like will talk about it and rave about it and like, oh man, this place was so cool. The drinks are great or whatever. And that'll create buzz around your place and like get money into it. But it's not like, you know, a restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like restaurants that sponsor or like, you know, do a 5K and there's your logos on the back of a t-shirt. You know, I don't feel like a strip club is going to help your company a lot.
Well, for me, it's the same as if, okay, say some company reached out to us for this podcast, right? Mm-hmm. To have an ad. I would not want to be associated with something that I, would never use the service myself, or B, that is a service that I disagree with in general. Mm-hmm. So, like, say we got an email from a company that's just all about racism, for instance, and was like, "Hey, shout out our company, and then in your ad, and then we'll give you money for it." We would both say, "No,
yeah,
absolutely not," because I don't want to be affiliated with you whatsoever. Mm. Same scenario for me in this world where I want promo for my business. If it's Texas Roadhouse that's like, I'll give you money, promo us and we'll promo you, I'm thinking, sick. I love Texas Roadhouse. I have no problem with people affiliating me with Texas Roadhouse because I go there all the time. That is a totally okay connection for people to make for me. But I would not want to be affiliated with a strip club in that way for people to see that and think and have the connection. He goes to that strip club or enjoys strip clubs in general, because that's not the case, or would it ever be? So I wouldn't want that connection at all. So no.
But do people really think that?
I mean, they have to, right? Like when you're listening to a podcast and they say this podcast is sponsored by so and so sponsor, Honey or Raycon or whatever. Don't you usually think that that person utilizes that product or is at least okay with being affiliated with that product at the very least?
I guess. And this kind of goes back to like, like thinking about things like in a money making. I guess if they're offering you promotion or money, yeah, that's the question. Will you accept money from strippers to help promote your business? So I guess. I mean, I don't have any problem with strip clubs. I don't think that because I'm supporting a local business that happens to be a strip club, that means I go there and I partake and I do these things. Just like if someone promotes Raycon, they have to buy Raycons and they have to use them every day.
Right. So, but they're at least okay with being affiliated with a product. And you said, do people really make that connection? I think they do. I know they do, whether it's subconscious or not.
Yeah, I think it might be subconscious.
And it's only not subconscious when it's a link that surprises them. Like if you were starting a new church and one of the founders or one of the an investor that helped build the church with a lot of money was a strip club, and that was the promotion, was this church was funded by this gentleman's club. Anybody would see that and be like, that's super weird. How did that go down, that a church was mostly helped to be built by a strip club? That's a weird connection to have. So it's subconscious, and I think people make the link more obviously when it's a link that they wouldn't see coming, or one that surprises them.
So why is it wrong for a strip club to give a donation to a church to help start a church?
It's not wrong to donate to help build a church, but that would be surprising to see at the very least. I'm just making the point that it would be surprising for a church to say this was helped to be built by this strip club.
Yeah. I'm not saying it wouldn't be surprising, but I think the reason why a question is strictly a strip club is because they have this stigma and they have this, this reputation. But I'm not saying that strip clubs are like charity services that are like trying to go out and help people. I don't know if they are or not. But, I don't see why, like if McDonald's sponsors a church or, or whatever. I don't see why that's different. It's a business. People do there and they go and they make business and they do business.
Well, because I guess we're on the terms of the church now.
Sure.
In terms of that, now you're talking about a business whose business ventures are pretty much surrounded in a culture that the church does not agree with. McDonald's is not a culture that the church does not agree with. It's burgers and fries. But a strip club is an entire culture that the church doesn't agree with or condone in any way. So that would be why that's a connection that makes no sense. And McDonald's would be a connection that doesn't really make any sense, but isn't one that would like take you aback and be like, wow, McDonald's and a church? Like, it's just McDonald's.
Well, I think just because a strip club sponsored or paid something for, to help build the church doesn't mean there's going to be stripper poles in the sanctuary.
No, and I don't think anyone's going to think that either. But the fact that connection would be made in general would most likely make a person think, this church is okay with strip clubs at the very least. Not that they have one built into the church, but they're okay with them.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. All right, we're moving on. This one's kind of interesting. I saw this one on Reddit as well. You have a top floor apartment. All tenants pay for central heating. It is very cold outside. Your apartment receives heat from those below it through the floor, and you can stay comfortably heated if you don't even turn the heat on. Do you have a moral obligation to pay your share of the electricity or gas for heating and run your heater? What if you want your apartment to be cold and open the windows? thus causing even more heat to escape the apartment of those below you. Is that an unethical action?
Now, this is a way more interesting question.
I like this question as well. I wanted to save this one for like near the end so that we could talk about it thoroughly.
Okay, so you're on the top floor.
Of an apartment complex.
That was
a weird noise.
I have water in my throat, and that was disgusting. I sound like a baby frog. So if it's cold out, I don't have to turn my heater on.
Right.
And I can stay warm.
Because you're the heat from the...
But if I want it to be cooler in, I can open the windows. And that would increase the electric bill altogether for the apartments below me. But it really wouldn't increase mine.
Right. So you don't even have to turn the heater on in order for you to be warm. Like, in order for you to be comfortable. Because the residual heat from the bottom floors seeps up into your apartment.
My initial thought is that it's not unethical because you just got lucky with where you got placed. Like, I assume that we're assuming all these apartments cost the same.
Sure.
Rent-wise. Like,
normally top apartments are more expensive, aren't they?
I wouldn't think so. Because normally all the rooms are the exact same size. Like, if you're in an apartment complex like that, the rooms are the same size. Like, all the 2x2s in an apartment complex would be the exact same 2x2 layout, whether it's on a top floor or bottom floor.
But I mean, like, you're on like an apartment complex, like, you know, floors and floors and floors of apartments, and you're at the very top one. I think that one's more expensive.
I don't think so for apartment complexes. If you're talking about like in a scenario where like towards the top you get to more penthouse area, yeah, those things would be more expensive. But when you're talking about apartment complexes where they're all the exact same layout and nothing is different about any of them, top ones don't cost more as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
But for this, let's just assume they're all the same for the sake of making this a more interesting question.
Sure.
I don't think that it's unethical to not pay some more for the heating and electric that you think you should be. Does that make sense?
No, not to me anyways. Like, the question is, do you have a moral obligation to pay your share in electricity or gas? So basically, do you have a moral obligation to give money to people who are heating your apartment, the ones below you, because you're not turning your heater on.
Right.
So the people below you are heating your apartment and paying for it. Do you have a moral obligation to give them money to pay your share of the heat and electric?
That's such an interesting question. I mean, again, my initial reaction is no.
Why?
Because, like I said, like in this scenario, you got lucky with being placed at the top one. So if they decide to not turn their, like, if they're just not around and then you have to turn your heater on, then fine. But if them having their heater on happens to warm your place up, then cool, you got lucky. Like if you were in that scenario, especially as a college student, your thought wouldn't be, man, I really should give them some money. Your thought would be, I got super lucky with where I am that I really don't have to pay that much to stay warm.
Yeah, but like the people below you are having to pay for the roof for their heat. Like it's kind of like Parasite almost.
No, I think both of us would give the people under us some money. I don't think that it's morally or ethically wrong to not give them money, but I think personally I would. But I do not think that it's ethically wrong to not give them money.
How would you bring that up in conversation? Like, like you come down like in your cozies, like in your slippers, and you're like, "Hey, so your apartment's really hot. Like,
you want to get dinner sometime?"
No, it's a funny question because I don't think that's ever happened. First of all, because insulation.
Yeah, that's probably not a thing that would ever happen.
Yeah, but it kind of like brings. It kind of, in my eyes, like I said, top apartment, I guess I'm thinking more penthouse, I guess, is the most expensive one. You get a beautiful view of the city or whatever, So as the residual heat comes up and you're not having to pay for your heating bill, like you're not having to turn on your heater at all, like, and you're paying for the top apartment, it depends. So, like, if you think, well, I'm paying enough rent here, or I'm doing this, then I don't think you're morally obligated.
No, yeah. If you're paying more rent than people below you, then no, I don't think you are.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I don't think you are either way. But especially in that scenario, if you're paying more rent than the person below you, then no. But even if you are paying the same rent, again, I don't think you're morally obligated to give them some money.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I would.
Yeah, I think I would give them money.
If I was aware of the fact that my place was always warm because of the people below me, then yeah.
Like if I had like a lunch party or like a dinner party, everyone came over and they're like, "Man, your apartment's comfortable. Like, what's your heating bill?" And I'd be like, "I actually don't turn my heater on. It's pretty warm in here always." You're like, "But we're in Chicago. Like, it's wintertime."
It's
like,
January, dude.
I was like, "I never turned it on. I wonder why." They're like, "We live below you." Like, I feel like if they confronted you like that, that'd be rough. You're like, "Oh, sorry. Yeah, guess I'm lucky." I don't know. I feel this was the one I feel the most wrong about. Like I feel the most wrong about saying, no.
I like I said, I'm gonna say not morally obligated, but I would.
I guess you got a point. Yeah, I guess you're not morally obligated, but that really ticks me off.
That does feel weird, but like to say that you're not morally obligated feels kind of wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But then for me, at least on the opposite end, to say I am morally obligated to give them money also feels wrong because I didn't turn my stuff on. I'm lucky to where I got put, so why do I have to pay them?
How do you feel about the window part? Like if you want to be chilly and you open your windows, that's more of their money escaping.
I mean, same scenario, really. Like you got lucky with where you got put. And I mean, if they were super upset about the bill that they were getting and they asked the super why that could be,
mm-hmm.
and then they were told it's the person above you, and then they confronted you about it, then yeah, it's probably good at that point to go ahead and, give them money or maybe just be a little more conservative with what you're doing up there at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just not morally obligated, but just be a little conservative with how much you're opening windows.
Yeah, I guess.
Turn a fan on.
All right, last one. How long have we been going?
Just over an hour.
Okay, this will be the last one.
Okay.
So, I think I've already talked to you about this one, and I vaguely remember it. I couldn't find it on the internet for some reason.
Okay.
So, I'll just do it from memory. So, a hot air balloon is falling from the sky. Okay. And there's 3 people on the balloon. The mother, father, and a child. Okay. The mother knows how to safely fly the balloon. The father has the knowledge to cure world hunger.
Okay.
And the child is completely innocent. And I think, is it like only 2 people can do?
Two people can be on the balloon.
Right.
I think I've heard this, yeah.
Only 2 people can be on the balloon and make it like safely, I guess.
Right.
Or make it alive. Who needs to jump?
Okay. So, are we assuming that if the mom jumps, the balloon can still safely land? Because this is one I've never understood, because
That's true.
The mom can fly the balloon, but it also sounds like we're assuming 2 people can make it. So if we get rid of the mom, can this still safely land, or does the mom have to be one of the people?
Like, in my mind, the mom has to be one of the people. So it's like, okay, do you choose a child who is innocent, or do you choose a dad who can, like, solve world hunger? It also comes down to the father's morals. Like, is the father planning on solving world hunger? Like, he's like, I'm almost there.
Yeah.
I also think a lot of people can probably solve world hunger. Like, just start feeding people, and I'm sure that'll help.
If Jeff Bezos would just give other countries $200 million a day, it would be all right.
Yeah.
I would say that because I guess we have to assume that the mom has to be one of the people.
Let's just go ahead and assume that.
So then I say mom and child stay in the balloon. Dad, I go bye-bye.
What if the dad can solve world peace?
You don't think there's a lot of people that could do that either?
No. I think hunger is a lot easier to solve than peace.
Well, he has the knowledge to save world peace, but will he?
I don't see why he wouldn't. I can see why he wouldn't solve world hunger. I feel like world hunger is a very expensive and tedious task. Whereas world peace, he can, solve relations and like do like I'm trying to find a way. I guess I'm just trying to find a way to kill the child.
That's a terrible sentence.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
Like just a way that the dad stays instead.
Right. So what makes the dad valuable? Like other than like the fact that he's just really smart. I think the dad, if he can solve world peace, yeah.
Now we're just asking how much intelligence is greater than innocence. Like a small amount of intelligence is not worth more than innocence. So is there a level of intelligence that is then worth more than innocence?
And how long does innocence last? Like the child's innocent now, and if he dies, oh well. But if he lives, he's not going to be innocent forever, I'm sure.
Right.
So
nobody is.
And if he's I think there's a chance that the dad will end up solving world hunger. So the child will just kind of like go off. I mean, maybe he's not going to be a part of the family business. Maybe he wants to be a stripper.
Sick.
I was expecting you to laugh at that, but you're just like, I was silent.
I was not expecting you to say that. It took me aback so quickly.
We're like, so since there's a chance that the dad will go and solve world hunger or do something cool, I think the child's got to go.
I think I still disagree. I think
when you first answered this, you said the mom.
Yes,
because we didn't assume
all she has is the ability. Like, if we can assume that the dad and child are allowed to land safely without the mom, then really the question doesn't even make sense. Because why would she be given that ability?
Yeah,
to just be able to fly the thing safely.
Mm-hmm.
So, assumedly, she has to be one of the people.
This is okay. Now we can throw a wrench into it. What if the dad has the cure for cancer? He already has it.
Okay.
Like, what if they're traveling by hot air balloon to give the cure to cancer to St. Jude's or whatever, and boy's innocent, mom knows how to fly a plane. I still think the child's gone, obviously.
Oh, that's so difficult. I don't know.
The child.
Because you would assume that he was working with a team, right? So, like, maybe
he's a lone scientist. He's going rogue.
He's just been sitting in the depths of the Everglades figuring out the cure to cancer, and then got it and flew by hot air balloon.
I love how the cure to cancer is like in a swamp bog. It's like just nasty water. He's like, got it.
I really don't know, because
what's pulling you away from killing the child? What is it?
The fact that he's a child. Like, just the word innocence alone is enough to make me be like, oh, I don't want to kill him. He's innocent. He's never done anything wrong.
Yeah, but cows are innocent.
Yeah, but they taste so good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Kids don't taste good, I'm sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe don't finish that sentence.
We've never had a kid, so.
In either sense of the word.
I think it's the kid. I said, the chid. Chid's gotta go. Jesus.
Friggin' chids, man. That's so difficult. I think I'm gonna still go ahead and say that the dad goes.
You are crazy.
I might be, but that is where my compass is leading me, and I will get crippled on this hill. I won't die on this hill. I'm willing to switch, but I'll stay here for a little bit.
Jesus. What if the dad was your mom? Like,
oh yeah, the child's going. He's out of there. I don't know the kid.
All right. Well, that was pretty fun. It was a pretty fun little soft episode.
That was fun.
It's interesting. If you guys have any disagreements or qualms with any of the answers we've given, or if you want to, put any answers of your own, you can tweet about it. And you can hashtag it Milk and Screams if you want to keep in the loop in the conversation. Or you can just put it in the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube, and we'll check those out. But I think this about wraps it up.
All that felt so weird, even just to hear you say it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like regurgitating whatever, whatever I hear on the internet, honestly. Yeah.
Maybe 5 years from now, we've gotten super big, and people are going back through and listening to all our episodes.
We'll be like, listening at 2039. I think YouTube comments will probably be a lot different then.
It might not even exist.
YouTube will always be a thing.
A topic for another day.
Let's call it for another day. Will YouTube ever die?
Alrighty. Well, I guess that wraps it up. And again, we have no specific way that we're exiting these right now. So this is just going to kind of end. You can hear us next week.
We'll see you next time.